This is a warning to all young people. Do not listen to stupid old white men. But I mean those old white men who are far behind the scenes, who are driving Agenda 21 and also driving the climate change ideology which is fixed into this agenda. The young people of today, many of them, unfortunately, I'm speaking for them, are being exploited by old white men in high and big finance to create a fear amongst them of something they cannot do anything about. That is, people having the desire to become wealthy. Having the desire to become wealthy and attract a better woman or attract and get a good car or get a big house is a primary cause of the need and want to exploit the environment. This trend and this pattern is set upon humanity for thousands and thousands of years. It has created many civilizations that have come and gone and collapsed and taken by other civilizations. And as technology has evolved, humans have exploited technology for the profit and to get wealth. All the young people who are drawn into the fear of climate change must ask themselves, put your hand up if you choose poverty, or put your hand up if you choose wealth. Put your hand up if you choose hardship, or put your hand up if you choose having to do a bit of work. Everyone needs to work and gain a bit of pleasure and leisure and luxury. If you go along with the path that the climate fanatics are setting within the Western hemispheres of the world and follow what they're saying, then you vote for being poor, desperate, and maybe homeless. If, on the other hand, you understand human nature, then what drives it is the male passion to succeed in breeding more children and getting the best wife possible, the best breeding partner possible, which is the basis of all humanity, whichever culture it is. And many traditional cultures are totally supported by the left, which go along with this climate change fantasy, also support other cultures that fully and totally support a traditional lifestyle, which therefore shows you immediately the contradiction within the political correctness or the sphere of political correctness created with the atmosphere of politics and climate of politics, left-wing politics itself. Not that I am a supporter of right-wing politics either. I don't support any politics whatsoever at the moment. It's all corporate-driven, and it's not really taking into consideration humanity as a real living organism. It's just looking at humanity to exploit it, and it's exploiting humanity's weakness in climate change fantasy as much as it is exploiting human need to become wealthy and get a job and get a good car and all that. They're both sides exploiting it like a pincer movement against humanity. One is saying be against getting wealthy. One is saying you have to be for getting wealthy by getting hexed and going to university. Why are people going to university? It's to get a good job so they can get a good car and get a decent wife and get a decent house. How does that come about? Do you think it really comes about by having wind and solar power running a place? Has anyone given one moment of thought towards the economics behind this and how they're created, how the economics is created? How many people have been to university have come out of it? Young people, well, this is addressed to, have come out of university not actually considered the actually energy and economics involved in the paying for solar power and wind generators, which in the case of wind, like it has done where I live here in Australia, the wind has not blown for 7 days in this area. So if we rely totally upon the wind for our power, for 7 days we would have none. And this is the truth of the matter of this wind. And they're saying we need batteries. So you tell me, someone needs to say, how much battery power would you need? How much battery power would you need to then have a backup for how many days without wind are we suggesting here? 7 days, it might be 10 days, it might be a month. If climate change means it's something that's totally unpredictable. So therefore, why you would rely on wind generators and the sun when you cannot predict the future of the climate in that respect makes no academic or scientific or mathematic or economic sense whatsoever. The climate change matter is a matter of philosophy, whether you cannot be forced into another person's belief, and the climate fanatics are trying to force the rest of society into conforming onto a belief system that humans can do something about the climate. Well, first of all, if humans are responsible for climate change, which is very, very doubtful, in the amount of percentage of CO2 humans produce compared with overall what the Earth produces, which is 95% for the Earth, about 5% for the humans. So it's very, very little, and it's a variable. So how you can relate that directly to then a pressing of the human need to create the economy to gain itself the wealth so it can afford housing and cars and keep their women happy as far as the men's concerned. Because as it is as yet, it's very, very rare you can get women that are willing to go along with men and be married to them with men who have got no material or capital ambitions. And this is where it all gets down to the old silverback gorilla sort of thing, in that as yet, and I've never known women to be inclined to follow blokes who are living in the street and living in poverty. More likely women, and up to this stage, and even feminists and all the Me Too generation of women and all those women are much more likely to look towards men that they can exploit one way or another so they can get material gain to live a comfortable life, so they can assure that their children that they breed have some sort of comfortable existence, which is extremely normal. Now, without fossil fuels, or what they call the fossil fuels, without hydrocarbons to generate the power and the energy to drive the economy, there is no economy. It's impossible. Anyone who says it's otherwise, that you can drive the economy with wind and solar, are forgetting the fact you cannot make wind and solar or afford to pay for them without either nuclear power or oil and gas or coal generating the income to then create the affordability for these accessories called wind and solar, these political accessories called wind and solar, accessories to a financial game within the global sphere of economics that's outside of the context of climate change but is placed into the context of climate change for political expediency in the West by those exploiting young people who have not been educated in the basic fact of energy and work and time itself is a paradigm they need to understand. Because the amount of the density of energy in fossil fuels, in coal and oil and gas, the density of energy there is expressed in economic matters, in an economic fashion. The density of energy in coal is massive. Then they can drive turbines, and that drives an awful lot of economy. But the density in wind, when there's no wind, there's no energy density whatsoever. And because it fluctuates and it cannot be relied upon, you cannot be relied upon to create an economy. So therefore, without fossil fuels, you are back therefore to a time when a very, very poorer economic existence, or economic existence was existing purely on a pure fiat or fabricated currency system. It's not based on any real capitalist system at all, where people have to put effort in to gain a living. It's based on a system where no effort is required, because machines will take care of all the effort, which is what's going on. And so therefore humans are hardly required and redundant to the corporate masters, which is really part of the agenda and really what's going on here, and what young people are not being told, so then they can be exploited as political pawns in a game. I'm suggesting, with due respect to all young people, you do not understand, and it's about time you really learn and ask questions what's going on here, because questioning authority is your basic number one human right, and saying question authority or question environment, asking questions, is how humans went from the Stone Age right through to the technical age and the space age in the first place, by asking questions. So those say you have to join a collective and not ask questions are removing your human rights, which is the whole idea behind this climate change fantasy, is to remove the human rights of young people to think for themselves as individual humans and individual organisms. And this is a warning to all young people. Wake up, become an individual, and question everything you hear. Question this video. It's a very, very good idea indeed.